Okay, hi there, guys and gals. I promised that I was going to make a video demonstrating the new bluing tray that I made. Uh, I've never made a video before. I'm no Mark Lovick, so I hope you all bear with me. I wanted to talk about it a little bit first. I'm going to show you some of the things I've used in the past and how the whole process works. So the bluing of screws is a heat treatment, and we could get sciencey and technical about it, but I don't think we need to bother here. You're heating the screw up to a specific temperature. It causes an oxide to develop on the surface. At different temperatures, it deposits a different color oxide, and it develops a different color through the temperature range. So essentially, you just heat it up. It's as simple as that. The temperature is around 740 degrees Fahrenheit. So unfortunately, if your household oven could go a couple hundred degrees hotter, you could just do them in your oven. But so you got to rig something up to heat them up a little hotter than that. I've used a lot of different things. There's only a couple little tricks to it. One is that your screw needs to be really well polished. The better the polish, the better bluing you're going to get. And it also has to be very clean, immaculate, perfectly clean. Okay? And really, those are about the only two things that make a big difference other than the heating. And so you want your heat to be even and generally pretty slow so that you can watch it develop, unless you have a kiln with a timer and a temperature, control and fancy setup. But to just do it at your workbench is incredibly easy. It's so simple, and I'm going to show you how here in just a second. Okay, so this is the fancy new bluing tray that I've made. As you can see, it has a little pan full of perforated holes so that I can set the screws in there and they lay flat. This handle is going to facilitate a nice heat sink so no heat really travels down the handle. I have some screws here that I've already prepped. Normally, depending on how bad off they are, I would put them in my lathe and polish them up perfect in my lathe. But unfortunately, my lathe station is not completely set up yet. Or not set up at all. Let's call it that. Getting there. So I just put these in a little pin vise and hit them off with my, Dremel. A little rouge on a buff, turn them round and round in the pin vise and polish them up. Now, if they had deep scratches or chunks, they'd have to be filed out and, really cleaned up. I haven't bothered with any of that, so some of these are not perfect, but good enough to demonstrate on. So, and then I clean that off. I have a little jar naphtha. I dip them in there, give them a nice little scrub, and then wipe them clean on a soft cloth. So, yeah. Our screws are all ready to go. First off, let's talk about the design here is sort of a double boiler sort of action. So the plate on the bottom is a bit thicker that I heat, and then this tray on the top holds my screws. So, and it'll hold them nice and flat. What I used to do is this little doodad, which is just a piece of copper held in a old poison vise. and I just hang that off the side of my bench a little bit. And you can use anything to heat these up. Now, traditionally, you'd use an alcohol lamp. I've used a little hand torch like this for off my workbench for a lot of years. You can use your wife's kitchen torch like that if you won't get in any trouble. So yeah, any sort of heat. I think even if you had one of those nice butane jet lighters, you could probably get away with that. But I think we're going to use the torch and the alcohol lamp to do some demos. We'll demonstrate on the old one first. We'll blew up a screw on that just to show how it does. And also, like, one of the things that I'm trying to get away from here, besides screws and things rolling off my tray, which I haven't had too much trouble with, but I worry about, is the even heating. So you can see when you put a screw on that tray, it doesn't lay flat, obviously. And consequently, the direct heat on the pan, it's very easy to build up a hot spot. And then, especially if you're doing more than one screw, it's very difficult to get everything even and get a consistent color. So let's see if that'll focus right close up. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to see this when I actually do a demo. There we go. Okay, so we'll try something like that. I'll have to set this up. So, okay, I think I got that set up so you can see. I'm going to use the little Bernzomatic hand torch here. So I've got a nice flame there. I'll just put that under there and warm that up. I'm trying to move it around so the heat doesn't build up too much. So I think I'm starting to see a little bit of golden color coming out of there. It's actually a pretty big-headed screw that I picked to demonstrate with, so let's take a second. I definitely see some color turn now. And slow. Definitely it's golden straw color now, getting darker. Turning kind of a brownish gold. Getting towards black. So now we want to watch real close. Although I can't see real well. Okay, I think we're about there. Purpley. It could be a little more. Taking that off. My lighting's not great, but let's say we got a pretty nicely blued screw there. Let's see here. Looking closely, say the sides are a little bit purplier than the top, but they were not polished as well. I don't know if you can see that. That's a nice deep blue. That's a very dark blue, but pretty good. So yeah, there you have it. Simple as that. Okay, so the new one we've talked about a little bit already. Pretty fancy double broiler. Got nice holes to hold my screws in. I'm sorry, I'm a terrible videographer. We've got some prepped screws here, though our camera won't focus on them. One of them is quite a bit bigger than the others. That one there is quite a bit thicker, as you can see. So we're going to do that separately. Most of the time I'm really doing one or two at a time. I'm not making watches, so yeah. It's unusual I do a big batch, but having all these holes certainly is nice. And I can just drop the screw in there. Drop the screw in there. Boop. Okay. Got a much nicer handle on this alcohol lamp. Try and set this so that y'all can see. Oof. Ooh. Crackly alcohol lamp. That was weird. So. I suppose I should narrate something about this, but I don't have a lot to say. Warm it up. Watch it closely. You see that smoke coming out of there? I think might have had a little oil left from threading the holes in that is burning off. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to affect the color or not. We'll see. I think they're starting to get hot. I see a little gold color coming out on those now. Try to zoom in a little bit for you. Yeah, there they go. Gold. Oof. I don't know what that was. Gold color. Alright, and there they go. Presto. They're blue. Oh. That's very interesting because one came out very blue, one came out very purple. could be different metal consistencies, or it could be a heat issue. Testing and time will tell. Anyway, I love my new tray. I think that works great. And yeah, simple, easy thing to do right at your desk. When you start matching screws to older screws, and it gets a little more complicated. Might take a few tries, but it's not a difficult thing to do at all. Yeah, thanks. See you soon.